Objection handling, SEO content that sells. Objection handling starts before sales ever shows up. If your website isn't answering the hard questions, your prospects will find those answers somewhere else, usually from a competitor, a review site, or an alternatives post you don't control. In B2B, objection handling has quietly moved upstream into search, and the brands that win are the ones that treat content like a sales conversation, not a publishing calendar. Today, buyers commonly consume 3 to 5 pieces of content before they ever engage a rep, and the average journey includes about 13 total assets across vendor and third-party sources. That means your prospects are building a shortlist and rejecting vendors while you're still trying to get a reply in your outbound sequence. Objection handling SEO content is the practical answer. You turn recurring objections, price, risk, timing, implementation lift, and integration into pages that rank, reassure, and move deals forward. Instead of treating objections as late-stage friction, we use them as early-stage buying intent and publish content designed to earn trust at scale. Why objection-focused SEO wins the modern buyer journey. Buyers don't start with vendor demos anymore. They start with Google. Roughly 71% of B2B researchers begin with a generic search, and 85% of decision makers say they trust organic results more than ads. So the first conversation is often a search results page, not a discovery call. Self-serve expectations accelerate this shift. About 65% of B2B buyers now prefer self-service channels during evaluation and purchase, and 55% say they rely more on content for purchase decisions than in prior years. When buyers want to self-educate, they also want to self-resolve objections like, "Is this secure?" and "What's the real total cost?" The hidden advantage is efficiency. SEO doesn't just create awareness, it reduces uncertainty. When your content preempts objections, your outbound sales agency or internal SDR team gets better replies, cleaner discovery calls, and fewer deals stalled by late-stage surprises. Done right, SEO becomes an always-on objection handler that supports every pipeline motion. Build an objection inventory from calls, emails, and lost deals. Start with reality, not keyword tools. Pull the top objections from recorded calls, email threads, CRM notes, and closed lost reasons, then group them by theme, pricing, risk, timing, integration, and by persona, economic buyer, technical buyer, end user. The goal is simple. Document the exact language prospects use when they hesitate. This is where we have an unfair advantage at SalesHive. As a B2B sales agency and SDR agency running sales outsourcing programs across 1,500 plus clients, our cold callers and SDRs hear the same patterns every day. Budget pushback. Call us next quarter. Skepticism from past failed initiatives, and fear of disruption during implementation. That live objection data is far more valuable than generic content ideas because it reflects what's actually stopping pipeline right now. A common mistake is capturing objections as vague buckets like pricing or security without the nuance. The best content starts with specific phrasing. What does it cost for a 50-seat team? Or, will this integrate with Salesforce and our data warehouse? Because those exact questions are what buyers search and what sales teams need to answer repeatedly. Translate objections into search intent and page-level plans. Once you have an objection list, translate each one into search intent. What would a buyer type into Google at the moment that objection appears? Pricing objections become pricing, cost, and ROI queries. Risk objections become security, compliance, and vendor assessment queries. Timing objections become implementation timeline, rollout plan, and time to value queries. Your goal is to win visibility where decisions form. In aggregate studies, organic traffic accounts for roughly 93% of website traffic, and the first page of Google can capture about 92% of search traffic. That's why objection pages, often lower volume but higher intent, tend to punch far above their weight in revenue impact. Another mistake is prioritizing content by volume alone, which produces informational posts that never reach buying teams. Instead, prioritize by revenue impact. Objections that show up late stage, objections tied to your largest deal sizes, and objections raised by veto holders, CFO, CISO, legal. In practice, the right 10 pages often outperform a backlog of 100 generic blog posts. If a prospect is willing to voice an objection, they're giving you a buying signal. Your job is to answer it clearly, honestly, and fast. Use selling-first content formats buyers actually trust. Objection handling works best in structured, decision-oriented formats. Pricing and ROI breakdowns, implementation guides, security pages, and versus alternatives comparisons. This isn't about writing more content. It's about creating assets that remove friction at the exact point where deals stall. Pricing transparency matters because it matches how buyers choose. In one report, 66% of buyers said they selected a product because it met their needs at the best price, while 39% cited it being the safest, most trusted option. If prospects are searching SalesHive pricing, brand pricing, or is this worth it, and you hide the answer, you force them into uncertainty, and uncertainty kills conversion. To keep execution crisp, we recommend standardizing your objection pages into a repeatable set of page types, each with a clear primary question, proof points, and a next step that fits the reader's stage. Turn SEO pages into sales enablement for outbound teams. Objection content shouldn't live in a marketing silo. It should be a daily tool for your reps. When we support clients as a cold calling agency and cold email agency, we map the top objections to specific follow-up links so SDRs can respond with, "Here's our implementation plan," or "Here's how our pricing works for teams like yours," instead of sending vague, generic collateral. This approach mirrors what happens on great sales calls. Analysis across a large dataset of sales conversations suggests that when prospects raise objections, win rates can increase by nearly 30%, and effective objection handling can lift conversions by about 22%. The practical takeaway for a sales development agency or outsourced sales team is straightforward. Objections are not pushback, they're engagement, so your content should help reps lean in, not retreat. The most common failure mode is sending a link that doesn't match the objection. If someone says, "Integration is my concern," and the rep sends a generic case study, trust drops. Instead, build a simple internal objection to asset mapping, kept current with sales feedback, and train your B2B cold calling services team to use those pages as credibility anchors during calls and in post-call recap emails. Measure what matters, pipeline influence, not just traffic. If you only measure page views, you'll optimize for the wrong outcome. Objection handling content exists to create sales-ready confidence, so your reporting should connect content to meetings booked, opportunity creation, sales cycle length, and win rate, even when the content is consumed privately before a form fill. SEO is powerful because it captures intent, and that intent converts. In one commonly cited benchmark, SEO leads close at about 14.6% versus 1.7% for traditional outbound-only leads. The best way to operationalize this is to track assisted conversions, content touched before a meeting, and to tag outbound sequences so you can see whether linking objection pages improves reply and booking rates for your outbound sales agency motions. A practical optimization loop is monthly and lightweight. Review the top objections from calls, compare them to the top landing pages prospects visit, identify gaps, and ship updates. When content and outbound teams work from the same data, you avoid stale pages, inconsistent claims, and the classic mistake of publishing content your reps would never send. Keep the flywheel running with continuous objection intelligence. Objections evolve with markets, competitors, and buyer expectations, so your content can't be set it and forget it. Treat your objection hub, pricing page, security page, and implementation guide as living sales infrastructure that gets reviewed like a pitch deck, regularly, collaboratively, and based on real conversations. Looking ahead, the teams that win will combine search intent with personalization. When a prospect is reading category implementation risks, your next touch should acknowledge rollout concerns, not repeat a generic value proposition. This is exactly how we approach outbound at SalesHive. Our team uses what prospects are signaling via calls, replies, and on-site behavior to make follow-ups feel consultative, whether it's for cold call services, LinkedIn outreach services, or multi-channel sequences. Your next step is straightforward. Pick the top objections that stall your pipeline today, publish the pages buyers are already searching for, and make those pages a standard part of how your team sells. When you do that consistently, your website stops being a brochure and starts acting like an always-on salesperson, one that answers objections at scale and makes every rep and every sequence more effective.